Hey, Goddess. Welcome to the Hey Goddess podcast. Angie K and I are here today again to discuss more super duper important topics about spirituality and everything goddess. But first of all, who are we? Angie K is the author of Creation Code's Rise of the Goddess, Navigating Spiritual Awakening and Kundalini Energy. If you are looking for an Ascension guidebook full of compassion, personal trauma, and triumph, and tips on how to reclaim your goddess energy, this is it. We will link that in the description below. She's also a goddess CEO, a divine feminine embodiment and law of attraction coach, and a master sound activator. And to see more of what she offers and who she is, she has a website at angiek.world. And so I am Wendy Lou. I am a writer, published author, professional editor, and copywriter, Reiki master, all around energy magician, sure, I like that, and a homeschool mom. And to see more of my services and what I offer and who I am, my website is wendy-lou.com. So today we are here to talk about essentially letting go, but we have our own content around this. We want to try and kind of get all these big important topics wrapped up in this because letting go really, like so many times we've said, right, Angie, that really the whole point of this journey is just to let go and let the universe, take you where it wants to take you. And so, but I'll let you lead us in on where we want to start with this. It's going to be a juicy one.
So juicy because I feel like in this topic, when you and I were kind of sitting down and like hashing out, like what does letting go of attachments look like? So many things were coming to my mind, like, the codependent patterns that I came from, and so many people did in their ancestral lineages, right? And so many of us came to clear away those patterns, right? To heal this
Mhm.
for our ancestral line. And, boundaries came up and all the patterning that we have brought through. And then, of course, that we're trying to break out of. But then sometimes in the process of trying to break free of patterning, then we can have that, sort of moment of wanting to plug back in because the pattern feels safer. But
Mhm.
then you realize eventually, wow, this really isn't healthy for me to plug back into this patterning. So I so many juicy things were coming up for me as far as this goes. And I wrote, there is a whole chapter in my book about letting go because what I was talking about at the time and something I had just gone through around letting go at that time in my life was letting go of physical material things because and I think this happened to a lot of people that I've talked to during the pandemic, because we were in our houses so much, remember? I remember looking around at the things in my house and even my house itself, like so many material things, and thinking, why do I have this? What,
Mhm.
like, where did it come from? And maybe it was like a hand-me-down, and I just felt like, oh, well, it was a hand-me-down, so I have to keep it. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I have to have this because someone gave it to me. Well, it's like, do you? Or is it just taking up space in your life, right? And all of these like material objects also take up space in your energy too, right? It's not just that that is two separate things. Like these are, you know, things that are the same. And this also, this was something I experienced around material things and then ultimately ended up getting rid of 50% of my stuff. Felt
Mhm.
amazing. You know this story. And we
Yep.
ended up selling that property and moving into a property that suited us much better for our lives at the time. But I just remember, and you and I were calling it at the end, like the big heavy house. Like it did. It just felt like this
Mhm.
big heavy house. And at one time in my life, I remember seeing that house and thinking, oh my gosh, that's my dream home,
Yeah.
right? But that was a different version of me, right? And so at the same time as I was letting go of the house, I was letting go of that version of me, that woman that picked out that house, that said, this is my
Right.
dream home, because it wasn't anymore. I knew the lies that were told around, you want to have a yard and you want to have green grass and you want to have all these impossible things that are going to take up your entire Saturday, right?
Right. Cleaning the big
And this,
house and
this is
mowing the big
not a
lawn.
dig at anyone that
Yeah.
really enjoys that. If you truly enjoy taking care of your lawn, more power to you. That's amazing. I'm sure you have a beautiful lawn. I just know that for me, spending so much time on those things did not feed my soul any longer. So I wanted that to be out of my life. And so I had to let go. But every time I would drive into that neighborhood or buy the house, I mean, I was going through a huge grief process for at least 6 months after leaving that house. And so that was just a huge shift for me, not at all really related to people, but just related to a dream that I once had that
Hmm.
I got to live in the manifestation of, and then needing to let go of that dream for something better to come into my life, for me to allow in something else. And so many times I think this is where people get stuck. It's in like, well, I created this, poured so much into this,
Hmm.
or even buying into the societal condition of, well, but I have to have this type of house and I have to have this type of yard and this is a status symbol and this is blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but where are you doing that from? Like, where does that come from? Like, does it feed your soul? And I think that's ultimately in all of these things we're going to talk about today around letting go. It's like, we need to look at the things that are feeding our soul. Like, is this coming from a higher place? Is this coming from your higher self? Or is this coming from a lower place around, well, what will my family think? Or this is some sort of conditioning that everyone in my family, you know, has always driven these types of cars and had these types of homes
Hmm.
and had these types of relationships. But is that what your soul wants? So I think ultimately that's the distinction here when we think about letting go, and the power of it is like really to move into your most authentic self that is in alignment with your, your divine path, like
Right.
your God self. So anyway, I want to hear your take.
Yeah. So
That
all,
was just
and
where my
then,
mind went initially around it because I
yes,
was
beautiful.
remembering my chapter in my book around letting go.
Yes. Well, and beautiful intro too, because we are going to cover a ton of stuff around this that are all going to relate to this. But I like how you pointed out that it doesn't have to be a person, right? That it can be a place, it can be a home, it can be, and in a lot of ways, like I was talking about before we got on, it's like I'm starting to realize too that when I think I'm letting go of a person, it's really letting go of a belief around whether or not I need them in my life or whatever. And when you can let go of that belief, then a lot of times the relationship gets better. They don't just fall away. Like it's not about, like we originally had on our list, right? Our topic list, it was losing people, letting go. And it made us both think, right? Like it doesn't necessarily mean you lose them. Sometimes they're still there and the relationship is now deepened. So yeah, so definitely and interesting, obviously, there's a correlation in my life too. I was just a little bit behind you, right? But when I was married, I always had the big houses and I had 4 kids. And so I was always in the PTA and I was a band booster mom and blah, blah. And you had to do all these things to show up for your kids. And I had to have a certain house in a certain neighborhood and I had to drive a certain car and my kids had to dress a certain way and all this stuff, right? And I have let go of so much of that. To the point where the first big thing that I did, and not this is not for everyone, but this was part of my process, is when I moved then to the last place that I lived, when my marriage was kind of just first falling apart, was I started homeschooling because I think for me too, it was a cathartic experience to remove myself from that toxic environment. Not always, it's not always toxic. I'm not throwing any shade on soccer moms. I think I had so many beautiful women that I met and connected with through that, living that life. But for me, it was not feeding my soul anymore. And it was stretching me so thin that I could not function. I couldn't show up for myself anymore. And so pulling away from that, and it ended up being a godsend for my 2 younger kids. My 2 older were not having it, and that's fine. It's all per kid, right? You have to know your kid. But it really was the beginning of me pulling myself away from those beliefs that I had to be this certain person because of the life situation that I was in, right? And the curb appeal of the car and the appearance of the vehicle, even if it was, for so long, right, the right vehicle were the gas guzzlers, the ones that were
Yeah.
so expensive to run. And we're getting away from that, I think, as a society overall now, which is nice. And so it is, it happens within first, right? And then we see it once that 100th monkey comes over to our side, right? Then we see it kind of spread like wildfire, where it's like, oh, maybe we don't need that anymore. Maybe we don't need the big houses anymore. And so here I am, divorced now, but I'm in a little teeny apartment and I love it. I don't have a yard. I don't have, my front door is in a hallway now, and I could not be happier because I feel so much lighter having let go of that. So yeah. So yeah, and we want to talk about too how letting go, like I said, can elevate the relationships, deepen and elevate, right? I know that seems counter, it's down and up, but we want to do both, right? We want to do both. And reclaiming that freedom so that you feel lighter and you have more. And what does that do for you? It gives you more clarity, right? It gets stuff out of the way when you're looking ahead, okay, and when we're so bogged down with the have tos, with the belief that, well, because I have kids, I have to do this. Because my kids are in school, I have to do this. Because my kids are in band, I have to do this. Like there were so many, and like you, because you lived in a certain neighborhood or because you're, you were in that certain lifestyle, how did it need to look for other people to see you? And you let go of that. And so that's a big one, right? And I think once we start, maybe for a lot of us, that's how it starts. And then you get clarity on the smaller things when you start to unravel that big kind of, knot, that giant knot, you start untying it, then it's like, oh, okay, I wasn't just attached to the lifestyle as a whole. It's all the little pieces, right? And then it comes down to the people. Well, okay, so, and we are huge advocates, and if you haven't seen it yet, we did a video on cord cutting. Cord cutting is a helpful tool for a daily practice just to keep your energy clear. Other people will try to attach to you, but you also, unbeknownst to you sometimes, will attach to other people, especially those closest to you. Removing those does not say goodbye to the relationship. It makes it better. We are living proof that
Yeah.
cutting cords makes relationships better. What do we say all the time? You can't screw up what's meant for you. You cannot screw up what the universe has intended for you. And so what's still there on the other side of it is yours. And so you can keep moving forward with that knowing, right? And so, yeah, where do we want to go next? Like reclaiming the freedom was huge for me, and it was almost like
Hmm.
it felt like a byproduct, right? It kind of is like you let go of all these things, and I've let go of a lot of people, a lot of people that I thought I had to please, and even when I was like in the military, oh my gosh, that mindset, that's lucky, everybody.
Hey, Lucky.
Even that
For those of
mindset,
you on the
right, is
podcast, that was the cat
right.
walking by.
Oh yeah, yeah, sorry, my precious little kitty, and yeah, the military mindset, is all about pleasing the higher ups, right? You have to look a certain way. It's, you wear the uniform properly. You have to. And so I really was ingrained in that belief that I had to follow other people's rules,
Hmm.
right? And so when you start to let go, so we're probably going to say let go a million times in this
Yeah.
podcast. And so just like drink all that in every time we say it. Well, I almost said it could be a drinking game, but
Yeah, it could be
drink, take a sip of your kombucha
of your
or your
water. Yeah.
water every time we say it.
Your
But yeah,
coffee.
so yeah, what's coming to you?
Yeah.
What's next? What do we want
Oh
to?
my gosh, it just made me realize that the entire awakening process is just a series of letting go of who you were told to be, right? The
Hmm.
conditioned person that is just a shell, right? I mean, none of that is really who you are. And
Right.
then, it's this, I feel like, slow and steady evolution towards becoming your completely authentic self. And I think that is the beauty in it and what is so powerful about it, because so many of us have all of this conditioning. And I love to still ask myself, like, what's my motivation behind doing anything I want to do, right? And I tend to work from inspired action, and I do wait for aligned action and aligned. And if you're not sure what that is, maybe we'll do a video on aligned action.
Yes, we'll put it
So
on the list.
what aligned action feels like is it's more of a calling coming from your soul. So you can have certain tasks that you need to get done, and that's fine. And you can even have them written down. You can also allow your soul to give you the perfect timing to do those tasks, and they will happen 100% faster and
Hmm.
much more creatively and effectively than if you try to grind them out. So you could have a
Hmm.
certain number of tasks that you have to do for a week, and we can do a whole video on this, but I just am illustrating a point here. And then find that if you decide to flow with aligned action, which would be, listening to your higher self around, okay, here's the right timing for this task, and then do it, right? That is very, very powerful. And I think that when we're releasing all of these attachments, I mean, this is so powerful to continue to evolve into like this person, this
Hmm.
divine expression that we're meant to be. And that's just part of the journey, I think, is we all move through all of this conditioning. And so I ask myself constantly, circling back to where I was, what is my motivation for doing anything that I'm going to do? Is it coming from conditioning, right? Or is it
Hmm.
coming from a higher place? And so I'll just ask myself, because if it's coming from conditioning, if I'm, about to go say to my kid, hey, don't do this particular thing. Well, am I saying that because it's embarrassing me for some reason? Right? Like, is it really something that I need to say to them because it's truly about them and their safety or whatever? Or
Mhm.
is it like, oh, well, that's embarrassing me, so I don't want them to do it? Well, that's not a very good reason. That's coming from my own conditioning, right? And so these are powerful things that I think a lot of people could benefit from stopping and thinking about what is your motivation behind doing something, right? Is it truly serving the person? Is it about their safety? Is it truly something that's going to help them? Or is it something that's circling back to you because you don't want to feel a certain way, right? So
Right.
this is really powerful. And I think that the letting go process continues to take us through that, right? And codependency was a big thing I had to work through, just and like you said, as you're releasing codependency, and I'm not saying this happens all at once, right? All of these things are an evolution. But
Right.
because we can change a habit loop in our brain, typically it takes 21 days, but you can change it because of neuroplasticity. You can create a new pathway in your brain. You just have to stop and think and do things differently, right? So when it
Mhm.
comes to
Awareness.
codependency, this is
Yeah.
something my husband would not let me plug into. And it was so frustrating for me in my early 20s because I was like, why doesn't he want to just do everything with me? Why doesn't he want to just mesh with me? Just like I just wanted to be one, right? And
Hmm.
he was very boundaried around that. And he would not let me guilt trip him. And he would not allow those things to happen. And for me at the time, because those were the examples I had in my family life, I was so frustrated and thought there was something wrong with our relationship. Now, looking back in my 30s, when I was in the throes of my healing work, I remember thinking how amazing that was that he did not let me do that. He came from a healthy background. He was not going to let me guilt trip him into feeling certain ways, which was extremely powerful. And I
Yeah.
did not see the gift in that until later. But, I hung with it knowing he was a good
I was gonna
person and
say you
that
still
I,
married him,
I
so
didn't,
you knew
I
there was
still
something.
did. It was a very powerful thing for him to do. And it really continued to highlight the relationships that I did have going that still had that level of um, guilt and emotional blackmail, things like that. Not that's what I was doing, but I was just, it was a sort of a spin-off of that. I wasn't doing anything like extremely toxic because I was aware of people in my life that did do that. But it was
Right.
just these small ways, right, that still ultimately were codependent, right? And so he really helped me break that down, that need for this other person, that I need to have this other person or I am not okay. And ultimately, you don't. And
Yeah.
our relationship has become better and better and better over the years as I've unraveled that. I mean, it's just amazing to see he's so into me. And I've released the need for him, is what's hilarious, right? Like
Right.
I realize I do not need him. I want him to be in my life. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so, right? So that's an amazing shift because so many people come from this place of I need this relationship
Yeah.
or I absolutely just can't be okay and they would come unglued, right? To move into a place of not needing is what I'm saying is he, wants me all the time. I mean, such a funny story I want to tell because this is just an example of how attracted he feels to me now in my life. And I'm not saying that wasn't always so, but it's much more amplified now.
Mhm.
And I was wearing my hair clip, which we've been calling Mandy, and it's just a little hair extension that clips underneath my hair. So I was wearing Mandy and I was in a makeup store and he was parked in the parking lot and waiting for me in the store. And I came out of the store and he forgot that I was wearing my hair extension and I had on like a little ski jacket. And he said, oh, I'm going to look at this cute girl and watch her get in her car. And then I came and got in the car and he told me the story. So I'm just trying to illustrate that he's 100% more attracted to me. So for all those women out there, if you're feeling like your man is just not like you're not feeling like he's seeing you as attractive or just really, desiring you, think about this. Like, where are you being
Where's it coming
super
from?
needy?
Right.
Right? And then drop the need, right? Go within, find your own self-love, and then everything shifts in your relationships around you. Suddenly, those people that you wanted to be attracted to you are so attracted to you, like,
Hmm.
beyond what you ever imagined, right? They just see you as so beautiful.
My energy shifted big time when I got my dreadlocks in too. So it's funny how the hair for
Hmm.
women can make a huge difference, just FYI. But I love this example because it's so goddessy, right? Like it's so like
Hmm.
we want all the women listening and tuning into us to really to really hear our stories about how we have stepped as far as, and we're not done. We're nowhere near done. But we really want other goddesses to realize that you already are the goddess, but it's and some of it, so much of it comes down to that self-worth, right? And so you're unraveling. I think it was Bashar. If you don't know Bashar, look him up. He's amazing. But Bashar said everything, everything that you humans go through comes down to some version or another of I am not worthy. Every single thing, and he is absolutely right. And so, because
Hmm.
we think, oh, well, that can't be for me, right? And so a lot of times when we're in a good relationship, and I feel like this is so timely because I feel like I am breaking this down right now in a lot of ways. And I do feel like my boyfriend doesn't let me get away with it either. And I love that because my ex we were very codependent, right, through the whole marriage. And we didn't even know, right? Like, no shade on him at all. We both had our stuff. We didn't know what we were doing until it was too late, right? We just didn't, we weren't aware. And so that awareness comes. And so now I have this new man who's like not letting me get away with it. And at first you get mad. You're like, well, how dare he, right? And then I started to realize I'd already come to that realization a couple months ago that I was like, oh my gosh, he's not letting me not be the goddess that I deserve to be. It's definitely been challenging sometimes. It's like I think I want to point out too, it's like we've gotten to this point in society where we look at coupling, right? Like dating and getting married or whatever, that there are so many women out there who are preaching, oh, the first red flag gone, you're gone. And I really despise that culture that we've created. It's like we're not giving anybody a chance. This is for us to find people to help us heal, right? To teach us, to show us, where it is that to be mirrors and all this stuff, right? And even if it's somebody that we end up having to clear a lot of attachments with and let go of, like you said, they might still be there when you come out the other side. Now they might not. They might not, but something that I keep getting too from when I've tuned in recently is, because I always say always and only in my highest good, always and only in my highest good, right? When I ask for things. And the universe said to me the other day, why do you say that? I was like, well, I just want to know, why do you say that? Don't you know that that's every second of every day is in your highest good? No
Hmm.
matter how good it feels or bad you perceive it to feel, right? So it's like, and it's not that I have to stop saying it because it is kind of nice for peace of mind, right, for our human selves. But we don't need to worry about that. The universe is going to conspire in our favor no matter what we're doing to screw it up down here. Right. And so I wanted to point that out that, don't, the first red flag is just them trying to communicate what they're going through typically. And that could be the first 10 red flags. Again, it could be like don't stand for abuse or anything, obviously, but I just feel like we're not giving anybody a chance. And so then we've come to this society where so many of us we have all this solitude now, which is great, right? But a lot of people would say that they don't have as many friends as they used to and all this stuff. And we have had to let go of a lot of people. And that is necessary, absolutely. If you let somebody go and they go, then that is exactly what they were meant to do. But if you
Hmm.
let somebody go and they're still there and they're hanging out, obviously we're not talking about stalkers, but we're talking about people who are like, oh, I see that you have, released a lot of this stuff and I love it. I'm all in. Like, let's keep
Hmm.
going with this relationship. That's what you want. And so it does take some work, right? We don't love that word, but it does take some work, but it's possible. It's possible to take a relationship that maybe has a lot of codependency and shift it.
Yep.
If it's something
Yeah.
you both want, then
Hmm.
absolutely it can be made that way. And so yeah, codependency is huge. Boundaries. I love that your husband had just came out the box with the boundaries. Like it's not you don't see that too often, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, men are learning how to be men again, and we all need to learn our,
Hmm.
boundaries. But we also, like I always said, my dream relationship was we both had our own thing. When we were apart, we were great. When we were together, we were great. But we
Yeah.
could be apart and have our own thing, right? but then when then when you meet somebody with similar, like you meet a divine complement, right? With that mirror, that direct mirror, and your traumas match, right? Then those traumas latch onto each other and you work through those together. And
Yeah.
so that's just the nature of the beast right now. And I think that we kind of got into this place, and this might be a tangent, but we kind of got into this place where we're like, oh, red flag, but oh, he took me to Red Lobster for the first date, gone. Like what? Where's this even coming from? Like you don't want to give
Hmm.
him a chance? Like,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know, maybe his parents got engaged at a Red Lobster
Yeah.
50 years before. You don't know, right? Like there's something, it's just the silly reasons that people are out there
Right.
saying, kick him to the curb.
Right. And the cheese biscuits. I mean, come on.
Come
I was,
on. I mean,
I'm from the
let's go.
Midwest. Like, there isn't a lot of seafood places. Truly, I do believe there are two sides to this, right? There is the side of looking at relationships and realizing they're a mirror for you. So it's like
Hmm.
when you're faced with that red flag, now is this a mirror, right?
Right.
Is this a mirror? Or is there something else going on here, right? Is there something that is somebody has someone cross the boundary? And then these things
Exactly.
are important, right? Because truly, like
Discernment.
there are just things that people are doing that are just mirroring back to you what's in your energy. They are not intentionally trying to manipulate or hurt you. And then the
Right.
other side of this coin is some people are intentionally manipulating and trying to hurt people and gaslight people. And so it's just important to look at this, like to step back and say, am I being triggered because this is a powerful mirror, which is a great thing. Those
Hmm.
relationships are amazing, right?
Yeah.
And we should all be grateful to have people in our lives that make us step into the highest version that we are by showing us
Right.
where we're not stepping up into our highest version. Or is
Hmm.
it truly that somebody really is not adhering to our boundaries? I've had to walk away from people that are not listening to my boundary, right? And people that are doing things to manipulate or sabotage in the background, right? And that is not healthy and that is toxic.
Oh,
Things that
absolutely.
are in like just serving the purpose of benefiting the other person by them being manipulative are toxic. And so it sometimes there is a gray area. It can be hard to see if we're because the mirror can be intense. So I think
Hmm.
you're right. I think it's important to of course give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying like millions of chances, but
Right. No.
to look within yourself, is it a mirror or truly is it a red flag? Right. And so the way for me that the red flags come up is if somebody just cannot adhere to my boundaries.
Right.
That's how I see,
Yeah.
right? And if there is some sort of manipulation going on and it's very much affecting my self-esteem or something like that, then I know that that is a toxic situation for me, right? It might not be
Mhm.
for someone else, but for
Right.
me,
True.
that would be. So I've had family members I've had to walk away from and things like that because they're not listening to my boundary, no matter how many times I'm setting it, right?
Right.
And so I might be setting daily boundaries, and that can be really exhausting. So these are ways
Hmm.
to look at. I just wanted to throw that in because I loved what you were
Yeah.
saying about, oh, there's one
Definitely.
red flag, oh, red lobster or whatever, right? Silly red
Yeah.
flags that because we're all so because we have so much access to all of this information about relationships and about toxicity and things like that. And so sometimes I think there's moments when, like what you're saying, is we're not giving people a chance because we're so well informed on these things, but we're
Hmm.
actually not seeing them for what they are. It could just be a mirror, or it could just be a judgment within yourself around, like you said, red lobster. Like, what's the judgment around that? Like,
Right.
what is you, well, like, why would you judge someone for something so silly, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's so many different ways to look at it, and I think it's important just to really sit and break it down. Like where, like
Mhm.
truly, what is the red flag? And is it truly a red flag? And if
And
it
the
is,
discernment.
right? Like we're not diminishing that there are absolutely 100% red flags out there that should be looked at and respected, and we should trust our intuition
Yeah.
always,
Yeah. So
right?
I
But
know you
then
love it when
again,
I know you love it when I bring up movie quotes. So you want to hear my movie
yes,
quote
please.
for this one?
I want to hear
Okay,
it.
so movie quotes. So if you've not seen Fever Pitch, first of all, a beautiful movie. It's Drew Barrymore and I forget his name. He's a talk show host now, but It's a very cute love story, but when they're first dating, her friends tell her about a friend that they knew of who was dating a guy who kept all the hair he had cut from his head in a bag in his closet. And so for the rest of the movie, they would call any red flag the bag of hair. So I have been known to use that term like, oh, here comes the bag of hair. If you do, like, if you go through a process of doing cord cutting and letting go of attachments and they're still coming at you, that's how you know that they are not respecting your boundaries. Or they will, we tell our clients all the time that when you let somebody go, like an ex or somebody, when you're still carrying energy, and we can feel that in our clients, right? And we'll say, well, you need to let them go. They'll feel it, and likely you'll get a phone call like the next day or within a week because they feel that you let them go, and they don't like that. So the people who are truly doing it intentionally and know what they're doing, they don't want you to ever let them go, right? And so they'll lash out or they'll, whatever, when you do the letting go process. But like I said, other people that are meant to be there, they may fade a little bit and go do their own thing for a while, but they're not going to lash out at you, and they'll still
Mhm.
be there. And then all of a sudden they'll come back around and you're like, oh, you're still here, right? So letting go does not mean losing somebody, but always, always, always have that discernment on too. And we can't always in the moment sit back and go, oh, was that a red flag? But if it keeps coming up, or if there's, like you said, a million chances, no, no, absolutely not. I mean, there are toxic people, but there's also just people who aren't aligned, right? And
Mhm.
if you're allergic to seafood and they know it and they take you to Red Lobster, then maybe that's a red flag. Keeping your energy clear as much as you can will give you this clarity, right? Will allow you to turn that discernment up. Letting go is letting go is really going to free you in so many ways. But there are so many ways of doing it, right? We talk about cord cutting. We talk about, I mean, I do a lot of meditation where I just ask to see, okay, where am I attaching, or where am I like, I have definitely been super needy with my boyfriend. And again, he doesn't let me get away with it because underneath there's this foundational connection that we both want it. We both want to make this work. It's not going to be like that with everybody, right? I have had to walk away from family members, close friends that I have had to walk away from. And that was huge for me because a personal wound for me was never stepping up for myself and letting friends become bullies, letting my
Mhm.
closest girlfriend become my bully. And so I kept repeating that pattern until I started to become aware of it. And I still had to do it like three more times. And then it was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on now. And what had to happen for me is I had to be the one confronting them. Because before in the past, I moved so much, it almost saved me. But also kept me in that pattern because I would move and then,
Mhm.
oh, you lose touch with people or whatever. And I would just start it over with somebody new. Well, this time it
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, I see it now. I see it now, and I understand. And it's actually started with my mother, right? Like the pattern
Mhm.
started with my mom. And so it was after my mom passed that it was suddenly blatant. So you're gonna know, right? Like, and of course I've been doing this for 12 years, right? This practice of, or this intentional spiritual journey where I've been, learning about how to clear my field and clear my energy. And that gives you clarity, like I said a million times. But I may say it again because it's so true. And that's really all we ever ask for on this journey, right? Is just let me know which way to go. Like even if it's a step in the fog, is this, we want to know that that feels right. And
Yeah.
so letting go may show people will show you who they are. And if they disappear, then it's in your highest good.
Yep.
That
Yeah,
was
I
a
love
lot.
that.
That was a lot
That was
about.
great.
I'm looking
Yeah.
at my
There's
list.
just so many aspects of letting go on the awakening journey, right? Because it's like we have to let go of the beliefs that don't serve. We have to let go of the
Mhm.
patterning. We have to let go sometimes of people, right? Because we realize like, oh, once you get to a certain level of healing, if somebody all they want to do is plug into that toxic patterning, and then you find yourself doing it, like going down that well-worn highway when you did all this work, well, then sometimes you have to let that go because it's like
Mhm.
ultimately it's not serving you to continue to dive back into that over and over again. So I
And
mean,
you'll
and then letting
notice
go
that
of
it doesn't,
material things. Well, I
right.
said beliefs, right? So yeah, and the conditioning, I mean, the whole thing, I think we could break it down into its process of letting go of who you were told that you were, so you can become the most authentic person that you could possibly be, who you
Mm.
truly are, your true self.
Your highest expression. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Your God self. Yes, your goddess.
Your goddess, your
Your
God goddess
goddess
self.
self.
So
Oh
yeah,
my
so
gosh.
I guess
I
to
love this. I love
yeah,
what's coming out. This is great.
yeah. So if you truly want to deepen the relationships that mean the most to you, then you have to let go of them. You have to let go of needing them. And that
Yes.
is sometimes people don't like to hear that, right? Because they think of it as, well, then they'll leave. If they leave, then they need to leave for both of you. And that's, that, and you'll grieve and then you'll meet somebody better. Somebody better will come in, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friend, or whether you have to walk away from a family member, you're going to deepen relationships with everyone else in your life, and they will become like family, right? So
Hmm.
it's a process that it's not. I love how you were describing like this whole process was like this slow and steady, and I was like, oh, you make it sound like we're like on the lazy river. It's more like the rapids and then
Right?
waterfalls every once in a while, but we're on
Yes.
it. And sometimes it is like the lazy river, and sometimes it is relaxing and comforting, and then sometimes we are moving fast and people fall away fast. But it ultimately, like everyone who has left my life, that has made it better. And I would hope it's the same for them. Me not being in their life hopefully has made their life better. And that's where you get to
Hmm.
that place of just living from your heart space as much as you possibly can. Like I'm not there all the time. I definitely have my moments,
Hmm.
but I do, I'm aware of it, and that's huge. That
Yeah.
okay, I try to say in the morning, I'm gonna, respond to everyone and everything from my heart
Hmm.
space today.
Yes. I love that. And I think that's so true. Like we're always doing the work. So if we can find the people that are willing to work with us
Mm-hmm.
instead and to say and to call out to us, hey, you're doing that thing. Oh my gosh, these people are like our angels, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
and I think that's the
Even if
place
we
that
get
you and
mad
I
at
have gotten
them.
to that's beautiful. Yeah, is the people that we're working with, even each other, and like the people that are in our lives now are the people that are like they're willing to do the work with us. And we can say to them, hey, you're doing that thing. And they can say to us, you're doing that thing. And then we can really see through the mirror and the conditioning and everything else and actually grow together in these conscious relationships that are, becoming more and more possible. So I'm
Right.
so grateful for all those people in my life.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it. So
Yeah. Me
yeah,
too. Yeah.
amazing.
It's been a beautiful, soul community that you start to build, right? When you really commit to this journey. Like it has to be a commitment on a deep level. You have to say at some point, if anybody's watching this and they don't know what's going on, but they were pulled to this podcast for whatever reason, it's like if you're just kind of in a just really out of sorts, it's like what is the universe trying to tell you? Like what needs to shift, what needs to go, and is it going to hurt? Yes. Is it going to be worth it? Yes.
Yeah.
That's all we can tell you. It's not easy. It's not easy. And doing it with somebody too, it's like, I always romanticized it. Oh, I want my Prince Charming and we'll heal together. And it is not easy at all. We both definitely have had our doubts that we could survive it, but we just keep coming back around. And you
Mhm.
can, as someone, we like to joke that women hold a grudge, right? Like we don't ever we can forgive, but we don't forget. That's if you truly forgive, then that will be out of your mind. And it just won't even be there anymore. And it is possible, absolutely possible. Even if you've been through some real rough patches, you both can forgive completely and totally, knowing where you're, and again, obviously I'm not talking about abuse or anything like that, but
Mhm.
knowing where you're both coming from and knowing that there's a connection. Again, this is romantic and otherwise. Angie
Mhm.
and I have a super deep soul connection that is not going anywhere as far as we're concerned, but it's so it doesn't have to, I'm not just talking about a romantic partner, but it's anybody in your life. Anybody in your life that if you really truly want to deepen that relationship, then go in, cut the cords, and do it often. Because even Angie and I have made cords with each other, right? We cut them as much as
Mhm.
we can, and just to keep the relationship pure and
Mhm.
real, right? And that clear connection.
Yes, I love it.
So just to recap, you can have attachments to people, places, things, situations, jobs, homes, anything, beliefs, right? I think the patterns is a huge thing, like really breaking free of those patterns. This whole journey is really about letting go of, like you said, who we were told to be one little piece at a time. Sometimes you're asked to let go of a big chunk. Sometimes we hold on, hold on, hold on, and the universe will tear it from our grasp. Like it's going to be a different process every time. I like to say if you ignore the whispers long enough, the universe will drop a piano on your head. And as someone who has had several pianos dropped on her head, I do not recommend. That is no stars. Zero stars. So any awareness you can have around this, around maybe who is not serving you, what's not serving you, go in and see, cut the cords, watch our cord cutting, because we both take you through two different processes on cutting cords, and whichever one serves you in any moment, you'll probably like both of them for, at different times. Angie's, I think, you can do it while you're driving. Mine, not so much. But keeping your energy clear as much as you possibly can will give you clarity for the next step in your life, and it's going to deepen the relationships that are meant to be there. That's the important thing, I think, to remember. Letting go does not mean losing them.
What I
Mm-hmm.
always say,
Mm.
what's meant for you will always be yours. I love this. Well, thank you for joining us, Goddess, and definitely catch the cord cutting episode, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Bye,
Bye,
Goddess.
Goddess.
I don't know why I do jazz hands. I don't know, it just feels.
I love jazz hands.